The Northwestern Wildcats were able to win their first game of 2022 against the Nebraska Cornhuskers in Week 0 last season, only to go on to lose 11 straight, rounding out an abysmal year for Pat Fitzgerald and company. However, if there's one thing we've learned about Northwestern football over the past decade, it's that you never, and I mean ever, count out this coaching staff, especially this head coach, Pat Fitzgerald, and you never count out this team. So can Northwestern rise from zero to hero in the Big Ten West, or is this going to be another very down year for the Northwestern Wildcats? What's up, Tailgaters? My name is Tailgate Nate, and welcome to my channel. I'm predicting all 133 college football FBS level teams this summer, and that means I'm doing your favorite teams. So why don't you guys go ahead, hit the subscribe button and ring the bell so you know when your favorite team gets uploaded. This is my last video of the Big Ten. Got all the SEC and Big Ten up, but hey, there are more ways that you can help me support my channel. I just cannot talk today, can I? Hey, you're doing one right now by watching the video, and you can do more by liking, commenting, sharing, of course, subscribing. Really, anything else you guys can think of to help support the channel would mean a lot to me. Now, let's talk about Northwestern football here in 2023. Hey, how do preview predictions work this summer? I'm glad you asked. We're going to go through a roster overview, take a look at who the team lost, who's coming back, and who's coming in through the transfer portal and recruiting class. And then we're going to take a look game by game and break down the Northwestern 2023 football schedule, give it a good old game by game preview and prediction. So, ladies and gentlemen, I give you your Northwestern Wildcats in the Big Ten Conference for 2023. The quarterback situation for Northwestern this year is going to look very interesting as you do return your top two leading passers from last year. Your leading passer last year was Ryan Helinski, 1,644 yards on only 55% completion, 6 touchdowns, and 7 interceptions. Brendan Sullivan was that second leading passer, did it on 74% completion percentage. He threw 96 passes last year, 589 yards, 4 touchdowns, and 3 picks. And then you get a transfer coming over by way of formerly Eastern Michigan, most recently Cincinnati. It's Ben Bryant, who was pretty good for both the Eagles during his time at Eastern Michigan and the Bearcats during his time at Cincinnati. So there's a lot of competition in this quarterback room here. If it was up to me, I'd either go with Ben Bryant or Brendan Sullivan. According to ourlads.com, Ben Bryant, as of right now, is that starting quarterback, and I think I would agree with that. I think at the end of the day, Ben Bryant does win that starting job, but if Pat Fitzgerald were to come out and say, hey, Brendan Sullivan is our guy, he's going to be our starting quarterback, or maybe Ryan Helinski gets that starting nod, don't be too surprised about that either. Running back room, you do lose your leading rusher from last year in Evan Hull, 221 carries with 913 yards and 5 touchdowns. However, you do return some pretty nice pieces back there, one of them by which is name of Cam Porter, 87 carries, 286 yards, and 2 touchdowns last year, and then Anthony Tyus back there as well as some other names that are going to give depth to this running back position. Wide receiver room, you lose a couple really nice pieces here. Your leading receiver in Malik Washington is gone, 694 yards and a touchdown. Evan Hull, by the way, was that second leading receiver on the team with 55 catches, 546 yards, and 2 touchdowns. And then your third leading receiver in Donnie Navarro with 237 yards and 2 touchdowns is also gone off of this team. However, you do return some fairly nice pieces. Your fourth leading receiver in Bryce Kurtz comes back, 212 yards last season. And then Jacob Gill, who was just shy of 100 yards with 99 of them and a touchdown last year, as well as getting some transfers coming over. A.J. Henning was a depth piece in the Michigan wide receiver room that should be a prominent piece in the Northwestern wide receiver room. And then Cam Johnson is coming over by way of Arizona State to help bolster the wide receiver room. Tight ends, so you return your top 2 leading tight ends from last season. Thomas Gordon and Marshall Lang were the 6th and 5th leading receivers, respectively, among this team last season. Offensive line, you lose an absolute dynamite player in Peter Skoronski. Don't have to speak on how good a player he is. He is just an absolute beast. But you also lose some guys like Ethan Weiderker and Charlie Schmidt. However, you do return some pretty good players. Ben Rather, Josh Preeb, and Zachary Franks are going to highlight that offensive line. Defensively, what do you lose? I know I'm going to butcher this name, so I apologize to Wildcat fans everywhere, but Adetomiwa Adebawar. I know I said that name wrong. You guys can roast me for it in the comment section below. I'll take the heat for it. But he's gone off that defensive line. 38 tackles, 5 sacks last year. Led the team in sacks. Very, very good player. And you also lose Devin O'Rourke off that defensive line. 28 tackles, sack and a half for him last year. You do get some nice pieces back, though. Sean McLaughlin comes back. Najee Story and Aiden Hubbard are all going to be key pieces on that defensive line, as well as getting a transfer coming over from Fresno State in Matt Lawson. Was really good for his time with the Bulldogs there. We'll see what he can do as a member of the Northwestern Wildcats linebacker room. Well, I mean, pretty much everybody comes back here. Bryce Gallagher was your leading tackler last year at 100 tackles. Xander Moeller was your second leading tackler. He had 87 of them, did also have 3 sacks, and led the team with 2 picks last year. And then Grayson Metz was your 6th leading tackler with 41 of them last year. So really good pieces in the linebacker room coming back from Northwestern. In the defensive back room, Cameron Mitchell is gone, as well as A.J. Hampton. Cameron Mitchell had 7 passes defended. That led the team, did have an interception last year, and was the team's 5th leading tackler. And then A.J. Hampton, pretty good player in the secondary there as well. Who do you return? Jeremiah Lewis, who was your 3rd leading tackler. Rod Hurd was your 4th leading tackler last season. Coco Azema and Devin Turner all returned to this Northwestern secondary. So Northwestern's definitely got some work to do, but hey, there's some good talent here that can definitely get Northwestern to improve from where they have been the past couple of seasons. Your head coach is Pat Fitzgerald. Your offensive coordinator is Mike Bajakian. Your defensive coordinator, David Braun. My apologies, reading a wrong line there. So here's the Northwestern football schedule for 2023. If you see a game underlined, it's going to be a home game for the Wildcats. Any game on the road is going to be in italics or the slanted text. Any game in green is a game that I have the Wildcats being able to win easily. Any game in yellow is okay. The other team's going to put up quite a fight, but Northwestern's going to be able to win, or it's a very close game. And red, of course, is a loss. So without further ado, here is your Northwestern football schedule for 2023. And it starts off, my apologies, with a road game against the Rutgers Scarlet Knights. Very, very interesting game to start out with here. These are 2 teams that, of course, have been at the bottom of the Big Ten over the past couple of seasons. So it's going to be very interesting to see which team is able to come out on top, be able to start their campaign with a win, and get some momentum going forward. And right now, I just have more faith in the Rutgers Scarlet Knights. They might not have as good of quarterback play as Northwestern's going to have, but I think they have some more set pieces. I think they have fewer questions. And Rutgers, I believe, is going to be able to win that game there at the beginning of the season. Not to mention is in Piscataway in New Jersey. So I don't think Northwestern's going to get off to a hot start this year. They won their first game last year. I don't think that'll happen quite the same this year. I think Rutgers will walk away with that win. UTEP is up here coming up next, University of Texas, El Paso, and this should be a game that I think Northwestern's going to win. Now, UTEP has steadily improved over the past couple of seasons, and maybe, hey, they fall back downhill a little bit from where they have been. They had some really good talented players that have since moved on to different programs. This should be a game that Northwestern should be able to win here, but I have the University of Texas El Paso being able to keep that one a little competitive, a little too close for comfort, but Northwestern should still be able to walk away with the victory. Duke is up next on the road, and I don't see Northwestern winning this game. Duke has got Riley Leonard. Pretty much everyone on their offense returns. They got some great pieces defensively as well. Duke is a real sleeper team in the ACC this year. I think they're going to be really good again. They're led, of course, I said it earlier, by the quarterback Riley Leonard, who is fantastic, and he's got a lot of pieces around him that are going to be around him for the 2nd straight year now. I don't see Northwestern having much luck with the Duke Blue Devils on the road. Minnesota Golden Gophers are up next, and I got Northwestern losing this game as well. Minnesota's got Anton Kaliak-Manis at quarterback. My apologies for the slight mispronunciation there earlier, but they're losing a lot of physicality, of course, with that center leaving, whose name is escaping my mind right now, with Mo Ibrahim leaving. Of course, you got Tanner Morgan, but again, Anton Kaliak-Manis has the pieces to be a really good quarterback, and they've got some really good pieces on defense. Still going to be a good Minnesota team this year. Could be a sleeper team in the Big Ten West as well. And I don't see Northwestern having much luck there. Also with Penn State, I don't need to speak on this one for too long. Pretty obvious on this one. Penn State's got just about a better player in pretty much every position when you compare them to the roster of the Northwestern Wildcats. And that's a legit team in Happy Valley this year. You got a really good quarterback coming back in Drew Aller that's going to take over for Sean Clifford. One of the best running back rooms in the entire country. Wide receiver stable has some really good pieces. Your defense is loaded. That's going to be a very good Penn State team. Northwestern has no shot. However, I do think they bounce back nicely, get their 2nd win of the year against the Howard Bison. However, I do believe that, again, foreshadowing a little bit, but I do believe that that's kind of where the luck is going to run out for Northwestern here. And by the way, that game is highlighted in green. Northwestern did lose to their FCS opponent last season, and again, wouldn't shock me necessarily if they ended up losing that game here, but I don't think they should. I think they should get a pretty nice win to move to 2-4 on the year. But again, things are going to get a lot harder for the Northwestern Wildcats going up here. You've already played some very quality teams, and you got to play a lot more of them in the second half of your schedule after your bye week. You got to go on the road and play the Nebraska Cornhuskers, and this is going to be a pretty solid Nebraska team this year with Matt Rule coming in as the head coach. They've got a lot of very nice pieces. Jeff Sims going to be that quarterback. Very good dual threat style. He can run the ball. He can pass the ball. He can really do anything you ask him to do. There's a lot of good pieces offensively. Defensively, they got to work on some fundamentals, but they should be pretty solid on the defensive end this year. And the Cornhuskers, I think, are going to be looking for their first bowl game in quite some time. So Northwestern going on the road. Now, Nebraska has had trouble with this Wildcat program in the past. Of course, they lost to them last year and have had some very close calls in years past. Still, though, a game that I think the Huskers should be able to win. Maryland is a sleeper team in the Big Ten this year. They got a lot of great pieces offensively, including the quarterback, Talia Tungavailoa. Defensively, okay, you got some question marks and you're losing a lot of talent, I think, especially on that defensive front seven. But Maryland, if they can take some strides forward, can be a real good sleeper team. But that offense is just going to be unlike a lot of offenses in college football this year. Northwestern will not have enough defensively to keep up, and Maryland should be able to win the game. This is a neutral site game against the Iowa Hawkeyes. Again, talking is hard for me today. I apologize. The Iowa Hawkeyes, a game in Chicago that I don't think Northwestern is going to win either. Now, I know Iowa's offense was not that great last year, but there's no way it's as bad as it was last year. They got Cade McNamara coming in there, Eric All. They already have some good pieces in the running back and wide receiver room, and that defense is going to be stout as ever. So Iowa going to be able to win that neutral site game there, in my opinion. Going on the road in Camp Randall, you're not going to have much luck there either. So I think the Wisconsin Badgers under Luke Fickell in year one are going to be pretty good. I think that's going to be a pretty good football team. They got Tanner Mordecai coming in there. Braylon Allen comes back. A lot of good pieces come in and come back in the wide receiver room. And again, the story with that defense is going to remain the same this year. It's going to be a very, very good defense. Even though they are losing that defensive coordinator, you got a defensive-minded coach in Luke Fickell coming in there. I think it's going to be a very good, well-rounded team. Definitely my favorite to win the Big Ten West. Northwestern does not have a shot there in that game, in my opinion. But you do get a home game here against Purdue, and I do think this is a winnable game, much like the game against Rutgers. Now, don't quite know what Purdue is going to be this season. They are getting a quarterback transfer coming over from Texas and Hudson Card. There are some pretty solid pieces around him in the running back, wide receiver, and tight end room as well. However, that Purdue team loses a lot from last year, offensively, defensively, and I think it's going to take new head coach Ryan Walters a little bit of time to be able to break that in. However, with that being said, I do think that Hudson Card and company are going to be able to make some plays against this Northwestern defense, and the Purdue defense stands up when it needs to for a win against the Northwestern Wildcats. And I don't think Northwestern beats Illinois either. Brett Bielema is entering year 3. I've said year 2 in a lot of my videos. I don't know why I thought that this is year 3 for him. And he is looking at a pretty solid football team, getting a nice upgrade at quarterback with Luke Altmaier there, and that defense at Purdue, or that defense at Illinois. Sorry, looking at the wrong logo. Even though they lose a lot in the secondary, I still think going to be pretty good, which leads me to a record of 2-10 for the Northwestern Wildcats. However, again, do not be surprised if this team ends up going 6-6, if this team makes a bowl game, or if this team even potentially makes a run at a Big Ten West title. Expectations have been low with this program before, and Pat Fitzgerald has only surprised us. However, I got this team being the worst team in the Big Ten in 2023. Let me know what you guys think about the Wildcats in 2023. And remember to play hard, but tailgate harder. Big Ten standings coming up next, and then we'll start a new conference. So I'll see all you guys in the next one. Goodbye.